That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
I know it's fun talking Cam Akers. I know it's fun talking Gabriel Davis. I know it's fun talking about these players that, are going to be polarizing in Dynasty Fantasy Football. But there's one thing that, in my opinion, is not getting near enough coverage, and it's that the entire landscape is going to change. I don't ever remember an offseason being like this. And keep in mind, I've been a casual NFL fan for, pretty much as long as I can remember. But mainly, I have been a diehard Dynasty player across a ton of different leagues since 2014. So that's pretty much my best memory. I can go back to 2014, tell you any player that came out of college. Starting with the year of Sammy Watkins. Jordan Matthews in that class. So many different players. But since then, I've never seen this at the quarterback position. You have top-end guys like Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson possibly being on the move. You have a ton of middle-tier quarterbacks that we're a little uncertain with. I'm going to be happy to go through and dive into everything here. But if you have not had a chance to join one of the best communities in all of Dynasty Fantasy Football, I think it's safe to say that. Probably the best community in all of Dynasty Fantasy Football. Make sure you go check us out on Patreon. Join the flock. Get access to my rookie rankings, my Dynasty rankings. Get into Dynasty leagues with all of us. Join the conversation. Join our Discord chat. It's a great community. I would love to have you in it. Drop a like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this situation this offseason. And subscribe to the channel only if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. But that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into the quarterback situation that we are going to have here. And essentially, from a macro standpoint, how many quarterbacks are guaranteed to be with their teams next year? Very few. And I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to go team by team, and we're going to be saying, okay, well, do we know what their situation is going to be like? Will they have a quarterback on the move? Will they be drafting someone? Will they be signing someone this offseason through free agency? Are we going to see a big time splash trade? There's a lot of uncertainty, and I'm just going over to Safari real quick, typing in NFL teams. Let's go team by team. And let's start it off with the Packers. And here with Green Bay, obviously, this is a team that you're not allowed to say it during the season. You're not allowed to say it when the Green Bay Packers have the first round bye clinched up. You're not allowed to say it whenever they're rolling with Aaron Rodgers, but we were always kind of saying it. You don't know where Rodgers is going this offseason. A lot of people, the second that he said he was staying in Green Bay this last offseason, said, well, if you look at the contract situation, he really had no leverage. Green Bay was never going to be moving on from him. He just kind of had to eat his peas. He had to sit there and wait until this offseason where he has a little more leverage in the situation with his contract not being so fresh where he can possibly maneuver his way elsewhere. And you did have Aaron Rodgers being asked after the playoff loss what his future in Green Bay was. And you would think that if Aaron Rodgers wanted to stay in Green Bay, what would you say? Because keep in mind, players are very quick to lie to franchises. Players are really quick to lie to fans, as teams are to lie to us at the same time. The Giants, a team we'll get to later on in the video, said they're sticking by Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, their guy. Teams are really quick to lie to us. So when Aaron Rodgers goes out of his way and he goes, I'll have to evaluate it. Give me some time with that one. I'm not committing to Green. I think that's important. I think it's important to know that Aaron Rodgers is a threat to go elsewhere. And y'all know Jordan Love was a player that, we weren't really saying this the peak of the Rodgers mania where people really thought Rodgers wasn't playing with Green Bay. At that point, Jordan Love cost damn near a first round pick. But every time just Aaron Rodgers is playing in Green Bay, that's a decent time to go out there and trade his second rounder for Jordan Love in a Superflex league. So I have Jordan Love in a considerable amount of spots. However, I will say, goddamn, Jordan Love looks so bad. Remember the span of just a few weeks where the Kansas City Chiefs, for whatever reason, were a bad NFL team. And you had the Chiefs going up against the Packers, which should have been one of the best games of the year, but the Chiefs couldn't hold on to the ball, and they went up against Jordan Love. I watched that game, and it was unbearable. It was one of the worst games I saw all of 2021 with Jordan Love. He doesn't look like he's the answer. So I think Green Bay is going to do everything they can to retain Aaron Rodgers. Now, there's a chance that Rodgers does go elsewhere. We'll get to some of those teams later on in this video. And if that does happen, I don't even think we can say Jordan Love's the answer. Let's go through a hypothetical here. What happens if They go, hell, I mean, with Rodgers, this is a guy that we are not going to be able to hold on to. Let's ship him to Denver. Let's get something in return. We'll send him to Denver, but then we have all offseason to kind of figure out what we're going to do at quarterback. Then San Francisco, a team we'll get to in just one second. I mean, clearly they have Trey Lance taking over next season. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo is available. They bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. So what I would say for all Jordan Love owners, and trust me, I have Jordan Love in a considerable amount of leagues. I mean, I was drafting him in the third round of 2020 Dynasty rookie drafts, just considering the fact that in Superflex leagues, the second that he is starting, I mean, at least I thought you were going to be able to trade him for a first-round pick based on how bad he has been in the limited opportunity we have seen. I don't want to say you get a guaranteed first-round pick by trading him now, but I would, at least in half of those leagues, the second that Rodgers is out the door, I'd possibly try to go through and find a Jordan Love trade as well, because I don't think Love has the rushing upside. And at the same time, I think there's still a chance that maybe Rodgers leaves Green Bay and a different quarterback that we don't know at the moment comes in. Now, going over to Tampa, you got Tom Brady. I'm assuming Brady's coming back. I mean, I'm saying this right now, looking out my window in downtown Tampa, just to be completely honest here, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. I'm assuming Tom Brady's making his way back. Don't want to spend too much time on that at all. The next team, Kansas City Chiefs. I'd imagine they continue to pay Patrick Mahomes $50 million. Yeah, obviously Mahomes going back. Then you got the 49ers. I've had some people reaching out to us on Patreon saying, Al Mason, you got us all suckered into Trey Lance. Now Jimmy Garoppolo is winning the 49ers games. Is Jimmy Garoppolo just going to be someone that is staying in San Francisco? Is Jimmy Garoppolo just a winner that they're going to want to hold on to? Okay, I understand. Yes, Jimmy Garoppolo won a couple games. Can we give credit where credit is due and not just give it automatically to Jimmy Garoppolo? Because if you look at, I mean, some of these games, Jimmy Garoppolo this past week, I mean, what? He had 11 completions for 131 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, and an interception. The week before, 16 completions, 25 passing attempts, 172 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, and an interception. Like, let's not act like Jimmy Garoppolo is a great answer. I promise you, Trey Lance is the starting quarterbacks next year. They paid 3 first-round picks to get to Trey Lance. That simply doesn't happen. Keep in mind, they paid 3 first-round picks to get to Trey Lance. The Rams paid 2 to get to Matthew Stafford. Lance is going to be the starting quarterback for the 49ers next year. However, I do think based on the rest of this video and how we're going to get into this landscape, Jimmy Garoppolo will most likely be starting somewhere this upcoming season. Now let's move on to our next team, the Rams. You got Stafford locked in. You got the Tennessee Titans after that. You got Tannehill locked in. The New England Patriots. Mac Jones locked in. Then the Las Vegas Raiders. Now this is a spot that I'm unsure of. Now, I mean, if you're looking at Derek Carr as a quarterback that could potentially be available this offseason, I don't want to say that he 100% is available, but I mean, he is a little bit older. You've had a lot of different things change in Las Vegas. Obviously, a new coaching staff coming in, and with Derek Carr, he's a free agent. So there's an outside chance that, I mean, teams are on the market to go out there and get Derek Carr, which I'm not the biggest fan of Derek Carr in the world, but I mean, you can easily see how based on some of the dire situations these teams are in, Derek Carr would look appealing. A team went out there, gave a second-round pick for Sam Darnold this last offseason. A team went out there and decided, hell, let's start Teddy Bridgewater. Like, it's not a great situation in the NFL right now. You could easily see Derek Carr making his way to somewhere like Pittsburgh. So we don't know what you're going to get with the Raiders. And then going over to Philadelphia as our next team with Philly here. Yes, I understand. You got the coaching staff telling us Jalen Hurts is our guy. Jalen Hurts is our guy. Jalen Hurts. Trust me, I drafted him a ton in 2020. Very similar to the range we were taking Jordan Love, just taking him over and over and over again, knowing that if he was starting for an NFL team, he'd be starting in our fantasy lineup because we have seen the rushing upside. I've seen Jalen Hurts play in person at OU. OU sucks. Hook 'em horns. Of course, we got to throw that up. But nonetheless, looking at this objectively, you do have 3 first-round picks for the Philadelphia Eagles in this year's NFL draft. And with Jalen Hurts, they don't really have the team investment. They have a second-round pick made by a different coaching staff into a quarterback that, well, yes, if you're looking at the raw stats, wasn't that bad this past year. But, I mean, the Philadelphia Eagles, every single week, Jalen Hurts, it would be like 72 passing yards going into halftime. And then all of a sudden, I mean, in the fourth quarter, once the Eagles are already out of it, he can add on 100 more. I think that you could easily see Jalen Hurts, I don't want to say getting replaced this offseason, but if they have the ability to say, go out there and take someone like Desmond Ridder at the top end of the second round, if they have someone like Sam Howell, who they really like in the middle first, you could see the Philadelphia Eagles deciding to go that direction. I mean, they did it when they had Carson Wentz a few years ago by taking Jalen Hurts in the second. Minnesota Vikings with Kirk Cousins. I think with them firing their head coach, I think that they've already chosen Kirk Cousins. Then you got the Seattle Seahawks with Russell Wilson. I mean, with Wilson, I mean, obviously you had a ton of rumors this last offseason. Now, clearly nothing happened, but this was Russell Wilson's worst season of his entire NFL career. I think it's safe to say that, not only because of the injury. I mean, obviously it's the first significant injury that Russell Wilson's had, but also his play returning from said injury. And if there were tensions with this coaching staff going into the year, I mean, based on just the abysmal performance of this entire offense, this entire team in 2021, I'd imagine that Wilson is also a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, one of these elite level options where we're unsure of his future. Then you got the Indianapolis Colts next, to go out there. They give the first round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles for Carson Wentz. And now they're put into a little bit of an intriguing situation, because what the hell are they supposed to do? I mean, they don't have a first round pick. They have a fantastic team around Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz failing and losing against the Jacksonville Jaguars, not able to get into the playoffs. I think that you could say the Colts are one of those teams that you don't know, just like so many of these others. Next, we have the New Orleans Saints. With the Saints here, I mean, you have no Sean Payton, so all of a sudden you have, I mean, a legacy head coach being gone from the organization. And then from there, what are we doing with someone like Jameis Winston? I'd imagine that Winston is the starter this upcoming year, but clearly the offense was really handicapped with Jameis Winston. I don't want to say that was Winston's fault. It seemed like the coaching staff didn't trust him this past season, but it's going to be a new regime coming in, so you're going to have to figure out where their guy's going to be. Who knows? Maybe this is another team, especially with Winston coming off a devastating knee injury that wasn't that early in the season. This is going to be a player rehabbing through training camp. We don't know what the situation is going to be like in New Orleans. Possibly you get Taysom Hill. Then you got Baltimore. Baltimore, we know what's happening. But then the New York Giants, another team here. I mean, with the Giants, they have 2 first-round picks. I mean, with their 2 first-round picks, maybe they get Kenny Pickett. Maybe they get Matt Corral. Now, as of now, the coaching staff is saying, hell, I mean, Daniel Jones is our guy. We failed Daniel Jones. We haven't put the talent around him. We gave him a bad offensive line, which I agree with. I mainly agree with almost all those points about Daniel Jones and how he's been set up to fail in New York. However, I mean, they were followed up and asked, are y'all thinking about trading for Deshaun Watson? And their response was, we don't have the cap space. Like, you would think that if they believed in Daniel Jones, their response would be, no, we got Daniel Jones. We're good. So you have some uncertain remarks with the New York Giants and Daniel Jones here. Then you got the Chicago Bears. The Bears, they're locked in to Justin Fields. I mean, especially trading their first round pick this year to get Justin Fields. They're not going anywhere. After this, you got the Miami Dolphins. I mean, with Miami, I know a lot of people want to go through and they want to say Tua is their guy, Tua is their guy, Tua is their. If that was true, why? Like, when there's smoke, there's fire. Okay. I understand that Miami had a hot stretch halfway through the season. Tua Tagovailoa looked like he was much improved. But at the end of the day, when you're continuously getting reports, a deal's almost done, a deal's almost done, a deal's almost done for Deshaun Watson, and now you also have Russell Wilson potentially on the radar, I don't think that Tua Tagovailoa is guaranteed to be in Miami. I mean, it's a very simple answer to solve a lot of problems. If Tua is on the market and all of a sudden Russell Wilson needs out of Seattle, they trade Tua for Russell Wilson and whatever else to make it equal. After that, you got the Washington football team. With Washington, of course, they're going to be in a range at pick 11 where they possibly could come away with someone like Matt Corral, but clearly they need a quarterback. I don't think they're going in with Taylor Heineke as a soft solution this season. Afterwards, you got the Detroit Lions. Now, with Detroit, they're picking high enough where remember a year ago, everybody thought it was going to be Spencer Rattler and Sam Howell at 1 and 2 in next year's NFL draft. Everybody thought those were going to be the guys. Well, if they had the seasons most people were expecting, then Detroit, they could take their guy in the top 3 of this year's NFL draft and everything would be fine. Well, that's not going to be the case with the Detroit Lions. It doesn't look like they're going to have a top quarterback prospect they can just take in the first round and fix all their issues. So looks like possibly we're getting another year Jared Goff. Possibly they're going to go out there and look to make a move in free agency. After that, we got the Denver Broncos, a team that I would make the argument probably being the best landing spot for any free agent quarterback. I mean, something that I know a lot of people aren't necessarily talking about it, but it would be a possibility. I mean, if you're looking at that Derek Carr contract, as we discussed, he has $0 on the dead cap. So if you potentially have a Derek Carr who wants out of Las Vegas, he's going to have a lot of leverage there. I mean, if Vegas doesn't want Carr, if Carr doesn't want, if anything doesn't work out, I mean, you could easily see Derek Carr out of Las Vegas. And if he stays in division, walk over to the Denver Broncos in a much better situation, or they go make a play for Rodgers, or they go make a play for Deshaun Watson, or they go make a play for Russell Wilson, or they make a play in the NFL draft. The Denver Broncos situation is probably the best one for a quarterback to be stepping into with the weapons that they have. Then you got the Carolina Panthers with Sam Darnold. I mean, with the Carolina Panthers, clearly Darnold's not the answer. I mean, they almost went and looked at Cam Newton as a permanent solution for the down the stretch in 2021. I think nobody's expecting Sam Darnold to be their starting quarterback this upcoming season, but based on this list of how many teams are going to be in the market for the quarterback position and how few quarterbacks are going to be available, possibly they have no choice but to roll with Sam Darnold. You got Jacksonville after that. Jacksonville's going to be just keeping it the same with Trevor Lawrence despite his failures. I mean, there's no way in hell Jacksonville gives up on Trevor Lawrence anytime soon. Then after that, you got the Houston Texans with Davis Mills. I know that Davis Mills was way more impressive than I expected, a lot more impressive than y'all expected as well. But still, at the end of the day, it's not like the Houston Texans are locked into Davis Mills. This is a team that you clearly have seen Deshaun Watson is not going to be playing for them. So possibly they go out there and they trade Deshaun Watson and bring someone else in. Maybe that's an avenue they can fix this situation. Then you got the Jets. The Jets, I mean, they invested that second overall pick into Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's going to be their guy. The Dallas Cowboys, you got Dak Prescott in that massive contract. But after that, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger, no longer going to be here. Ben Roethlisberger officially retired. So another team that is in just a desperate situation for the quarterback position. And here, if you're looking at, I mean, how people are projecting this quarterback class, just historically speaking, quarterbacks that make it to the end of round one, guys that go at pick 28, guys that go at pick 29, they don't last in the NFL. They really don't get, I mean, that many opportunities either. It's a lot more common for your quarterback who's drafted outside of pick 25 and that is at the end of the first or in the second round to turn out to be Paxton Lynch than Lamar Jackson. So if we remove those guys, which right now you're getting players like Sam Howell, Malik Willis be projected to go there, really Kenny Pickett, Matt Corral are the only quarterbacks projected to go in the first at pick 9 and pick 14. And if you even look at historical hit rates for quarterbacks that go in this range compared to guys that go in the top 5 of the NFL draft, there's a pretty big difference. We've talked about this in depth in our Dynasty rookie draft guides. There's really no elite quarterback prospect coming into the NFL draft this year. And how many teams do we have here that need a quarterback? And how many teams, I mean, have their situation solved? Very, very few. And for that reason, I mean, guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, guys like Carson Wentz, guys like Daniel Jones, that really we would be used to at this time of saying, hell, they're not good enough. They don't have the value. I mean, we can kind of just ship them. No, you're going to have to hold on to these players because especially in those Superflex leagues, of course, is mainly a Superflex video. But at the end of the day, where else is the NFL going to go? These guys are going to get starting opportunities. I think what you're going to see from the NFL is they're going to have to wait until 2023 to figure out this quarterback situation and fill all of these team needs. But even then, you're going to have someone like Tom Brady leaving the NFL. You're going to have more holes opening up. So I think right now, I mean, we didn't even talk about a team like, I believe we skimmed over the Cleveland Browns. Did we talk about the Cleveland Browns here? I don't see them on our list. Hopefully we didn't miss out on any other teams either. But with Cleveland Browns, you don't even know if Baker Mayfield's the guy. Like there are so many teams. Hopefully Thomas was able to throw it up here and show it visually that you don't know what the option's going to be this upcoming season. So I know everybody wants to just jump off ship with guys like Kirk Cousins, guys like Jimmy Garoppolo. You're going to have to hold on. You're going to have to hold on. I've nothing really else to say. I mean, I think at this point, we're going to see a lot of changes. It's probably a good idea when we're looking at these teams that have uncertain quarterback situations to be betting on just talent, like the Denver Broncos. Y'all know I've never been a Jerry Jeudy guy, but if you believe Jerry Jeudy to be an extremely talented NFL wide receiver and he's only failed because of the quarterback situation, I've never been a Jeudy guy, but if that's your take, hell, go buy Jerry Jeudy. You can say the same thing with someone like Terry McLaurin for the Washington football team. I think what we do is we target the talented wide receivers in these uncertain situations, expecting a ton of quarterbacks to be changing teams this offseason, and you kind of just roll the dice hoping that your talented wide receiver gets paired with a talented quarterback and sees a spike in value in Dynasty. But please let me know what y'all are thinking. I can't remember anything ever happening like this where we've had so many teams with just giant question marks, the most important position in all of sports. But of course, thank you so much for being a part of the flock and supporting the channel. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. Really hope I get to talk to you over there on Patreon sometime soon and you join an awesome, awesome community.